Good morning, everyone. The Lord be with you.
Lift up your hearts, we lift them to the Lord. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is right to give thanks and praise.
On Monday was St. David's Day, and this is probably our last online service. Back together next week. And so we're going to devote our service to St. David. And we don't know much about St. David of Wales. Like King Arthur and Merlin, the story of St. David is deeply shrouded in legend. In fact, one legend even suggests there's a connection between St. David and King Arthur. But the date for David's death has, since about the 12th century, been accepted as March the 1st, 589. With about 8 years before St. Augustine of Canterbury came to England at the request of the Pope Gregory the Great, where he said to St. Augustine, "Go and Christianize the kingdom of Kent." And that's one of the routes by which Christianity came to our country. And so it was that at that time, at a time of tumultuous change in the country, David was born, and he became a priest, and then he became an abbot. An abbot is a person in charge of a monastery of monks, and then a bishop. And he's said to have founded a monastery way out on the Pembrokeshire coast, where the cathedral city of St. David stands today. I've been there camping, beautiful place.
St. David's Cathedral. Simon Jenkins writes, "Today it is Britain's most enchanting small cathedral. The best approach is from the shore, up along the path along which pilgrims, hermits, devotees and Irish missionaries must have walked, ecstatic at reaching their destination. We are in Dewi's Land, St. David's Peninsula, out on the tip of Wales, the westernmost point as you look at the map. St. David founded his monastery probably around 1500 years ago. It's actually quite hard to spot from the sea. The tower today is higher than the earliest cathedral, but it's still in a dell, hidden from Viking raiders, and the gardens protected from the full force of a sou'easterly wind, which you certainly do feel down the road on the cliffs at St. Non's, named for St. David's mother, with its own monastery and holy well. So people have been coming here for hundreds of years. William the Conqueror in 1081, even before David was declared saint. And the spiritual history is still an integral reason for the area attracting tourists. 2 visits to David's shrine were later declared worth one to Rome itself. I grew up only 70 miles away. It felt like a day at the time, and I've been returning here since early childhood, and more often in recent years, in my mind's eye, in my imagination, which isn't quite as good, but parking's never a problem, and the place is as quiet as when it has been when 20 years ago in August I was the only person on the campsite. Ibiza it is not. In his poem Little Gidding, the Anglo-American poet T.S. Eliot writes about a holy site in Cambridgeshire, inviting his reader to take a pilgrimage in the imagination. At the risk of butchering one of the greatest poems of the 20th century, I'll quote selectively. "If you came this way, taking the route you would be likely to take from the place you would be likely to come from, it would be the same at the end of the journey. Either you had no purpose, or the purpose is beyond the end you figured and is altered in fulfillment. There are other places which also are the world's end, some at the sea jaws, or over a dark lake, in a desert or a city, but this is the nearest in place and time now and in England. St David's itself is a city, barely in terms of population, and until recently shopping, little more than that as a village, and it can feel very much at the world's end. Look out from Carnllidy in the right direction, pretty much as the camera does here, and your nearest landfall will be Florida, or a few degrees to the left, Venezuela, 4,000 miles away. It's not in England, of course, but I am, and a walk out past the Bishop's Palace, along the lane to St Justinian's in the distance here, or out towards St David's Head, is as near as closing my eyes. Eliot continues, "If you came this way, taking any route, starting from anywhere, at any time or at any season, it would always be the same. You would have to put off sense and notion. You are not here to verify, instruct yourself, or inform curiosity or carry report. You are here to kneel, where prayer has been valid. And prayer is more than an order of words, the conscious occupation of the praying mind, or the sound of the voice praying. What is it about some places that attracts the religious mind? Well, very often it seems that previous religious people have made a place their own. This image of St David's Head contains no fewer than 3 Christian chapel sites that I can see, and Iron Age burial sites from before that. 2016 excavations at the St Patrick's Chapel site, eroded by storms on White Sands Bay, revealed cross-incised stones, the earliest Christian grave markers in Britain, going back to the time of St David himself. My message this morning? Twofold. First, a hope, a suggestion that you open your ears to the sounds the Spirit, be these ordered words, songs or other inexpressible gestures, of prayer from generations past. These may be, as Jesus says on the way into Jerusalem, places where the very stones would cry out. And the other is a wish that in life you look for and find your place of pilgrimage, somewhere that you can go, both in person and in your solitary moments, not to verify, instruct yourself or carry report, but to kneel, and from which to return, refreshed and blessed. You may need to choose your holiday destinations carefully.
Ni ddwy'n gofyn bywyd moeddus, a'r y byd na'i belai man, gofyn wyf am galon hapus, calon onys, calon lan. Calon lan y llawn daioni, tech y hiwn a lili dlos, dim ond calon llan algani, canu'r dydd a'r canu'r nos. Pedymwn olyd badol, chwym a denydd iddo sydd, golwd calon llan rhinweddol, andwy'n baddol elw fydd. Calon lan y llawn daioni, tech y hiwn a lili dlos, dim ond calon llan algani, canu'r dydd a'r canu'r nos.
Faith seems to thrive in those in-between places, in the kind of rocky crags of Pembrokeshire, or Iona, or in Coptic Ethiopia, places like that, or among the Maori of New Zealand, or in the mountains of Kenya, or in Lesotho, or the semi-desert of the Karoo, where Mr. Biggs comes from, where I worked for many years. And Christianity seems to do best and to thrive when it's not in power, when it's being challenged, when it's being questioned. And so that's a reminder for us at this time of remembering St. David. But our faith actually thrives in the desert, in the wilderness, in those in-between thin spaces, the mess, the unrehearsed times, the unresolved times, times of challenge, times when we've been hurt, times when we've just dared to dream of a better world. And that's when the seed of God's grace takes root and starts to grow. That's what happened at the time of St. David.
I am going to be playing polka.
And to celebrate St. David's Day, I'm going to read a poem called Fern Hill by Dylan Thomas, who was a 20th century poet from Swansea. And this poem is about his time that he spent at his auntie's farm down in Carmarthenshire. And it's about enjoying your childhood while you can, and particularly enjoying the outdoors and the benefits that that can offer you. Fern Hill by Dylan Thomas. Now as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingles starry, time let me hail and climb golden in the heydays of his eyes. And honoured among wagons I was prince of the apple towns, and once below a time I lordly had the trees and leaves trail with daisies and barley down the rivers of the windfall night. And as I was young and carefree, famous among the barns, about the happy yard and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young once only, time let me play and be, golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden I was huntsman and herdsman, the calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hills barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun long it was running, it was lovely, the hay fields high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys, it was air and playing, lovely and watery, and fire green as grass. And lightly under the simple stars, as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the nightjars flying with the ricks and the horses flashing into the dark. And then to awake, and the farm like a wanderer white with the dew come back, the cock on his shoulder, it was all shining, it was Adam and Maiden. The sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of the simple light, in the first spinning place, as spellbound horses walking warm, out of the whinnying green stable onto the fields of praise. And honoured among foxes and pheasants by the gay house, under the new-made clouds and happy as the heart was long, in the sun born over and over, I ran my heedless ways. My wishes raced through the house-high hay, and nothing I cared at my sky-blue trades, that time allows in all his tuneful turning, so few and such morning songs before the children green and golden follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared in the lamb-white days, the time would take me up to the swallow-thronged loft by the shadow of my hand. In the moon that is always rising, nor that riding to sleep, I should hear him fly with the high fields and wake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercy of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea.
David's most lasting contribution to the Welsh people and to us is a phrase that is said to be part of his last sermon just before his death. He said, "Be joyful and keep your faith and your creed. Do the little things that you have seen me do. Do the little things." Remember last week we heard how St. Teresa said, "Do little things with great love." Do little things with great love. Well, apparently, "do little things" is a well-known phrase in Welsh. And it reminds us that even in a time of great turmoil and transformation, the work of faith is still in the little things. So we thank God for St. David of Wales.
Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground, and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He does not know how. The earth produces of itself first the stalk, then the head, then the full grain in the head. But when the grain is ripe, at once he goes in with his sickle, because the harvest has come."
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy St. David's Day. Singing is a big part of Welsh history and tradition. You'll all be familiar with Mrs. Edwards' wonderful voice. Just thought I'd give you a short history about this and why this is. Through the 18th and 19th century, there was a big non-conformist movement in Wales. People like the Methodists of John Wesley spreading preaching and living the good moral and social values, a small departure from the Anglican Church, although still Protestant, and they would gather in chapels, and singing became part of the Welsh heritage, if you like. And with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, population of South Wales in particular grew around the coalfields, with the mining coal and the steelworks, and so you have a long tradition of singing from the chapels. The people would congregate and worship at the chapels, and singing was a big part of that. And toward the end of the 19th century, the game of rugby also became very popular in Wales, moving from its origins at Rugby School in Warwickshire, and soon spread across the country. But the coal miners of South Wales took to the game very well, and the rest is history. So this is a hymn written in the 19th century. Although the tune is also a 19th century hymn, it was from an American tune, but with Welsh words written by Ieuan Gwilch. I'm not sure exactly when. It's called My Daisha Di Bobaud, which is I Need Thee Every Hour. My Daisha Di Bobaud, Vara Gloidur, Thou Hedoth the Danelais, O Nevorur. My Daisha, oh my Daisha, Bobaud, my Anaf Daisha, Bendithia vivan high guad, Bendithia now.
Reading from Psalm 97. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the whole earth. Sing to the Lord and bless his name. Proclaim the good news of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations and his wonders among all peoples. For great is the Lord and greatly to be praised.
Ein tad, an han e nefoeth, sanctir ddi a dainu, dela da dainas, gunela da iwithless, megis a an nydd, felly a ddau ar hefyd, dara I ne heddiw, ein bara beneddiol, a mathi I ni un daledion, dela mathi an naini delio a dwi, a nag awi ni a brofed gydd, a ddi gawed ni harag drwg, canes I ddoti yw an dynas, a nyrth a gogiant, an oes oeth. Amen.
The peace of the Lord be always with you. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
In the garden of our Savior, no flower grows unseen. His kindness rains like water on every humble seed. No simple act of mercy escapes his watchful eye, for there is one who loves me. His hand is over mine. In the kingdom of the heavens, no suffering is unknown. Each tear that falls is holy. Each breaking heart a throne. There is a song of beauty on every weeping eye, for there is one who loves me. His heart it breaks with mine. Oh, the deeds forgotten, or the works unseen, every drink of water flowing graciously, every tender mercy you're making glorious. This you have asked of feet.